Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Owen and Thomas. This is the big fight breakdown for the fight taking place in Las Vegas at featherweight. It's the rematch between Brandon Figueroa and Stephen Fulton for the WBC title. Gents, really good to speak to both of you. Potential fight of the year contender we've got here, so not a bad fight to be breaking down and previewing. Thomas, I'll start with you. This is a really feather. I don't know about you, but the featherweight division's probably my favorite
Mm.
division in boxing. I feel like it's full of fighters who will fight anyone. And that's what makes it exciting. You've got such a big range of styles, such a big range of kind of physiques in the division. You've got obviously Rafael Espinosa and then Nick Ball, two completely different fighters, and that's an example of how exciting this division can be. Before we go into this fight, I want to know who your number one featherweight in the world is. I'm not going to say anything else because there's so many different fights it could be, but who's number one for you?
Oh boy, this is really tough. Um, I just feel like these. I'll give an answer here. Just to not be lame. But I just feel like these guys got to fight each other a little bit more first, just to kind of see who's at the top when the dust settles. And I know there's so many different fighters aligned with different p- promotions and networks that it would be pretty difficult to make those fights happen. But anyway, I like right now just based off of and this is probably recency bias, but I like Rafael Espinosa. I think in terms of like entertainment value. Obviously he's great, fun to watch, throws a lot of punches, and is very skilled. Um, and he has just the physical advantages over so many. I mean, pretty much everyone in terms of height and reach. It makes him really dangerous. So I would pick him, but I wouldn't be surprised to see any of the other title holders beat him. And assuming that Naoya, moves up, which seems imminent, I would favor him to beat Espinosa. So, but he's not in the division yet. So right now, I'll pick Espinosa as my number one.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a good pick. I think he's someone who we've seen um look vulnerable in the first fight against Robert Ramirez, looked gone, but just got through the fight, and it was a fantastic victory against Ramirez in a fight he was the underdog in. Looked very impressive last time out in the rematch against Ramirez, if we're being honest. So it's not a bad pick. Owen, who's yours? Who's your number one?
Probably between Figueroa and Espinoza, but I'll probably have to agree and edge it towards Espinoza. I think, like you said, he looked so good against Robsy Ramirez in the rematch. I think that was a statement, especially like you say, the way he sort of dragged himself through the first fight to survive, to then knocking him out inside 6 rounds. I think that was a big performance. I think he's a bit of a genetic freak as well. Like you say, he's what, 6'1" featherweight, which is absolutely mental. He should be at that height. You should be talking super middleweights. So it's pretty crazy. But I think, yeah, like you say, he probably does have, because he's so tall and rangy and, naturally he's quite, although he's muscly as well, he does look quite skinny in terms of, because of his stature. So that probably is elements where if he filled out and moved up weights, he might not be as vulnerable. But if he wants to be a weight bully, then he's the biggest of them all. But yeah, I just think I'd edge it towards him at present. But like you said, Elliot, it's such an open division. There's so many top fighters in it. It's probably one of the more open divisions in terms of who's got the belts. So it's one of them where fight on fight, you could probably change your opinion of over who's the best in the division.
Yeah, and we'll see. And I think one thing about the Inoue thing is, as things stand, Inoue's opponent has kind of dropped out for a second time. Um, Sam Goodman, so he's going to be fighting somebody else at the end of January, and we'll see kind of if this move up to featherweight happens. And I wonder if the reason why it's not happened yet, and the reason because the Inoue could have moved up, yeah, And the point I'm trying to make is, I wonder if Inoue is thinking to himself, you know what? I don't fancy moving up and fighting Rafael Espinoza or Nick Ball or Brandon Figueroa because those are all really hard fights and those guys are a lot bigger than me. But look, just a side point. We'll see when this move up to featherweight does happen for Nairo Inoue. Owen, I'll stick with you. Brandon Figueroa is the slight favourite for this fight. He's only got the one loss on his record, which was to Stephen Fulton a couple of years ago. I remember at the time I actually thought Figueroa won that fight personally. It was a very close fight, a majority decision win to Stephen Fulton. Um, we've discussed on this channel like who could beat Inoue, who's the guy to beat him. Um, do you think he has the best chance at featherweight at beating him, or is it Espinoza due to his height? Is it Nick Ball due to our kind of his power and his relentlessness? Is it someone else? But do you think if Inoue was to move up, do you think Figueroa is the guy to finally beat him?
I'll probably say Espinoza. I think like it could just be a case of in another video we did where I said Canelo found his ceiling when he stepped up against Bivol. He's just too big. I think that could be the case for Inoue. You know, if his power transfers to featherweight, if he keeps it, then I think Nick Ball is a good matchup for him. I think Nick Ball comes forward, obviously likes to fight, so that could play into Inoue's hands. Whereas if Espinoza, even if they said for 12 rounds, just keep the distance and get on your bike for 12 rounds. Don't even try and, even though he's a big puncher, just don't engage with him. Don't let him fight his fight and just dance around the ring. So, although obviously, you know, if Inoue's power doesn't necessarily transfer up to featherweight, Figueroa's obviously got a massive chance of beating him. I just think Espinoza's size and stature at the division, it could be physically, not necessarily ability wise. I think it literally could just be a case of he's far too big for him. Inoue can't close the distance down, and Espinoza sees a shutout points victory.
Yeah, no, look, exciting. We'll really hope we see these fights in the future. Thomas, what's your opinion? Figueroa, he wins this fight, the WBC champion. Um, Big name in America. Obviously, there's been talk about Inoue fighting in Vegas and moving from Japan. This could be a potential fight for him. Do you think Figueroa is the guy to beat Inoue?
No, in fact, I would have to agree with Owen. I feel like Espinosa would be the guy. Um, just based off of what we've said already, just the physical advantages. And in my opinion, if anybody's going to beat Naya, it's really a matter of them just being too big for him, like skill for skill. Like if they're like the same weight, I don't think anybody's going to beat Naya. And yeah, same for Figueroa. I don't think he would. I think he would make it a very fun fight, and I would love to see that. Obviously, he pushes the pace, and unlike his, he gets hit, but I think he's a little bit better defensively than his brother. But I think he gets hit enough to where Naoya is going to exploit that, and I would definitely favor him in that matchup. Naoya for sure.
Yeah,
So yeah, no, I don't think Figueroa would be the guy. Um, but if he, wins against Fulton, uh, he would definitely it would be easier. Like we're having trouble figuring out who's the best right now. But with Naoya out of the picture, assuming he's not coming up or not anytime soon, I would think this would definitely help Figueroa establish himself above everyone else.
yeah, yeah. No, we'll see. Yeah, I think like I'm a big fan of Brandon Figueroa personally, and that's a fight that I would really would love to see in the next 12 months. But we'll see. Figueroa has to get past Stephen Fulton first. Shifting our attention towards Stephen Fulton, gents. I think the fight he had against Inoue, I feel like we're talking about Inoue a lot in this video, which is not like us at all. But with Stephen Fulton, he had that fight against Inoue, which some people were actually picking him to win that fight. Some people gave him a very good chance, and it was it was extremely one-sided in Inoue's favor. He's had one fight since then, a fight which was a split decision win, got knocked down in the fight as well, so got the win, but maybe not kind of the super positive return he was hoping for. If you kind of were drawing up your own kind of rankings list, Is this guy in your in your top five? Because obviously it's as we mentioned, it's such a star-studded division. There's so many good world champions there. There's people in there who aren't world champions but are still very good fighters, kind of Luis Alberto Lopez, Thomas, I know you're a big fan of Bruce Carrington as well. That's another fighter. Would Stephen Fulton make your top five list? Owen, I'll go back to you.
Yeah, I think he would. We've got the names we mentioned. Obviously Espinoza, Figueroa, Nick Ball, Angelo Leo. And then you probably sneak Stephen Fulton in there, probably about fifth. When he fought Inoue, it was seen as and billed as could it be finally be the man that troubles Inoue? Could it finally be the man that gets close to Inoue? And we all see what happened that day. And obviously, since without going into my prediction too much, obviously he got dropped by Castro last time out. So I'd put him in there, but I think this fight is a big test to see how much Inoue has actually taken out of him, how much that loss has affected him. So I would have him in there at fifth. But I think this is a big fight for him personally to see where he's at and how he'll compete at the top end of the division.
Yeah, and he's also had one fight in 18 months as well, so that's a little bit of a concern of mine as well. Thomas, Stephen Fulton in your top five?
Yeah, actually, I would have to agree pretty much 100% with Owen. I think it would be right at number five, or if anything, maybe just outside of it. I think at the moment, um, that the other champions and the major players in the division have kind of passed him up just due to inactivity, and obviously uh, that beatdown from Inoue was pretty serious. I think it took a lot out of him, to be honest, just judging off of his last performance. Um, but like Owen said, I think this is really going to be the test um, to see how much he has left after that. And yeah, I'm I'm just not sure um, how well he's going to do against Figueroa this time compared to the first time, just based off of the punishment he took in that Inoue fight, and more so like the punishment it did to his confidence. I feel like it's been di very serious, but again, we'll see.
Yeah, no, we'll see, and I'll try. I'll ask this question again in a couple months' time because I feel like it's a never changing division in terms of the landscape and
Mhm.
well champions, and I can't speak enough about this division. It just feels like it's the sort of division where
Yeah.
anyone in the top 10 can beat anyone, and I think that's what makes it fantastic as well. All right, chaps, it's prediction time. I'll let you both go. I'm gonna go first. I'm a big fan of Brandon Figueroa. Really, I really am, and I'm fairly confident he wins this fight. And I think deciding by a stoppage or a points victory is a tough one. But if I had to, I would edge towards a stoppage victory in the mid rounds between rounds five and eight. Thomas, I'll go to you next. What's your prediction for this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you for the most part. I this time around I see Figueroa winning. And I just think he's in a different form right now compared to where he and Fulton was a few years ago when they first fought. I think they're both pretty different places. And yeah, I think someone with the style of Figueroa is tough for someone like Fulton, uh, just trying to get back into the spot where he was before. It's just uh, with Figueroa's volume punching and skills. And the fact that, even when Fulton was seemingly in peak form the first time when they fought, I mean, he barely won the fight. Elliot, obviously, you said that you thought that Figueroa edged it out, right? So, yeah, I think a lot has changed since then, and I think just enough has changed for Figueroa to get the win. I would say late stoppage, say rounds 11 or 12, he catches up to him and gets him out of there. But I think it will be competitive early on at the very least. But yeah, I got Figueroa by stoppage 11 or 12.
Fantastic. We shall see. Owen. I'll leave things with you. Who wins and how?
It's a full house. I think I'm a bit more confident than you two in the stoppage. I think not necessarily physically, but like Thomas alluded to, the mental aspects of that Inoue beat down. It was so comfortable, and being the man that was seen as could he be the one to finally trouble Inoue, and he scored. It's simple as that. He got through the Castro fight last time out. I don't think he looked amazing. He got dropped. And I think, like you say, Figueroa probably did just about edge the first fight. I don't think anyone would have necessarily disagreed if he'd have been given it. I just think now the tables are turned massively. Round six or round seven, I think it's going to be a fairly comfortable night for Figueroa. I think he's going to break him down, and then sort of the mid to getting towards the late round six, round seven. I'm quite confident he's going to stop him. I didn't, which is I sort of gave it away, I think, a little bit in the previous question, but I just think it weren't too many fights ago, but I think if you look at them both now, different fighters to that first fight, and I just see he's a big puncher, Figueroa, and a vulnerable Fulton is going to get stopped.
Yeah, look, you make a good point. I think Figueroa was just he's got a couple of years younger than Fulton, which meant that when they first thought he was still a young man, and I just think
Mhm.
since then he's developed and got a lot stronger as well. So we'll see. All right. Another good breakdown, chaps. Really good to speak to both of you. Brandon Figueroa versus Stephen Fulton on the 1st of February in Las Vegas for the WBC World Featherweight title. Owen, Thomas, thank you both for your time. Enjoy the fight, and I'll speak to both of you again soon.
Likewise, thank you.
Cheers, mate.